kingdom sound. And I want you to understand this, that there is always a sound that precedes a move of God.
Oh, wow.
Everybody say that there's always a sound that precedes the move of God.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Whenever you will find deliverance, wherever you will find healing, wherever you find a move of God.
All right, everybody. Welcome.
With a sound. I want us to take just maybe.
This is Milwaukee. You deserve better.
We're going to sing this song. We're going to raise it as an offering to the Lord. But I want us to take about
just checking, making sure everything is working.
Brother, I just want you to minister on that guitar. I want you to raise your hands in His presence and let's just worship God all over this room. Come
okay,
on,
there we go.
Let's worship God all over this room.
Let's see. Babe, can you go to your, let me see your phone, please. All right, we're live here, and we're just working out some technical difficulties. And I'll explain it to y'all in a minute. Today we have with us Orlando Owens. He is a candidate for the state representative, 11th district. Is that correct, Mr. Orlando?
Correct. It is.
And we just welcome him on. And we just asking him now that he would introduce himself real quick to the audience.
Sure. My name is Orlando Owens, and I am running for the 11th Assembly District here in Milwaukee. Raised here in Milwaukee, went to public school, played basketball here in the city, Warning basketball, AFY football. Went to Whitewater, but I finished up my degree in business at Morris Brown, Historical Black College in Atlanta, Georgia. Been working in social services now for about 20 years around the issue of employment, from reentry, family supportive services, you name it, I've done it in the issue of employment and social services, and also corporate America. I am a father and also a husband. Been working in the community now for many, many years. I'm currently the chair of Milwaukee North Branch of the Republican Party of Wisconsin, Milwaukee County. And I'm a candidate running for office now. I've been working on a jobs program. It's called the Joseph Project. Been doing that, one of those things, for about 5 years now, helping a lot of people find employment. And now I'm a candidate running for office, running for the 11th Assembly District, which is an open seat being vacated by Jason Fields. And elections just in a few more days. And so I'm here. That's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Okay. Let's start off like this. There is there's a rumor going around that your opponent will not debate with you. Is that correct?
Well, there's an NAACP debate forum happening on Thursday. And at this, the deadline has passed for several Democratic candidates to come out and debate the NAACP, which is the oldest, most prestigious civil rights organization around. But there are some Democrats who have confirmed, two, but the vast majority, from Gwen Moore, my opponent, Dora Drake, Supreme Moore, Gwen Moore, and also LaTanya Johnson, and also Caitlin Hayward. These are all sitting politicians on one form or another, and have decided to skip the NAACP debate for, let's just say, lightweight issues.
Okay, your mic cut off on you on your last piece. You want to
Oh,
try
I'm
that
here.
again?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yep. I was just saying that, the reason why they have decided not to were very, let's call them just really minor issues. And the debate is still going on. They've basically turned it into a town hall or a forum, basically, since the other person had not confirmed. And like I said, the reasons for them not attending was very, very, I guess, small potatoes. So that's what we are. So we're looking to do a forum by myself with the people of Milwaukee, and I'm there to answer questions and give my vision for the district and what I want to bring to the table and what I want to see differently for our city.
Okay. Is there a write-in also person in y'all race?
No,
So Michelle Bryant is not a write-in
Michelle Bryan is running in the Senate race
in the Senate
with
race.
correct. So I'm running for state representative for the 11th.
Okay. So why don't you tell the people, as a man of God, why you decided to run in this race?
Well, never thought I would run again for office. I ran before in the past, and just felt led that there could be some changes happening politically in our city. And I thought that my pedigree, background, experience would could be beneficial. Now I didn't intend on when I moved in this area. I've been in and out of the 11th district a lot of my life. But when I moved, one of the first calls I made was to, believe it or not, at the time still is sitting Representative Democrat Jason Fields, and I asked the question if he thought that this seat could ever turn red, and his answer to me was that he didn't think so, at least not right now. And maybe I don't know, maybe 2 months later, the announcement comes out that he's running for city comptroller. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I need to really evaluate this thing and look at this thing. And, through prayer and doing my research and, getting together a committee and just also doing a lot of just test doors and how was I being received by the people in my message. I said, this is the time to do it. The seat's open. This is a moderate to Democratic district, so it's not so far that people can't hear great ideas and are open. Um, and it's where I grew up. Most of my life in and out this area, one form or another. I'm a kid from the city, so I've dealt with evictions and I've dealt with bouncing around. So I've been in and out of the 11th district, civil district for quite a bit. But that was the prayer, and it just kind of happened that way. Didn't see it coming. I honestly didn't really think about. I thought about running maybe, but not really a lot of thought at all. And this has kind of happened the way it did.
Okay. Um, the condition that we're in the state, we're not going to even go to the federal level. I just want to focus really on the state and our city. And the condition that we are right now with everything that's going on, by you being the representative of the 11th district, what would that district benefit by you being in that seat?
Well, for me, it's real clear. I have the trust of the Republicans and the respect of the Democrats. Currently, here in our state, Republicans have control of the legislature. There are 99 state assembly representatives. Of that 99, I want to say 60. I'm sorry, 35 seats plus are Republican, and they have the Republicans have an overwhelming lead on the Assembly side. On the Senate side, there's, I want to say, 33 seats, and Republicans also lead that. And so we are a Republican state, at least for the legislature. And whoever controls the legislature controls the budget that the city gets, controls policy for the state, and also practices and procedures. And so what they would get in me is someone who has the ability to work across aisles, but also recognizing that clearly there is an organization that has most of all the votes. Now, I would also say that this is not a perfect party. You won't find any of those. But so just to know that what you have is truly a person who has the ability to get things done. So often we talk about people, elected officials who say things and never can really deliver. Unfortunately, we often don't tell people the legislative process and the legislative breakdown of how bills, that old, schoolhouse rock. I'm just a bill sitting on Capitol Hill, and tell people how legislation is really passed. And a lot of people just don't know. When I do doors, and I'm doing doors now, although voting's already started, mail in, and also now today, the first day of in person, people just didn't know. They didn't know. First thing, they didn't have to vote straight party, which I'm not here to debate the national politics. I'll let people decide that on their own. You can make your own decision there. But locally, they thought they didn't know they can vote for individual races, and they did not know the Republicans have control, and whoever has control of the legislature controls the money and the budget, like I said earlier. So that's what they would give with me, someone who actually has the political cachet and experience to go to Madison and to negotiate and broker great deals for our district, and not only for our district, for our city.
All right. And also we have with us Mr. Deacon. How you doing, sir?
Excellent. Honor to be here, Apostle. Thanks for having me.
To introduce yourself and tell the people exactly what you're running for.
Hello, my name is Alcairo Deacon, and I'm running for State Senate District 6 here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Born and raised in the district, so it would be an honor to be able to represent the people of this district.
Okay, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself? Let the people know who you really are. Give them a little bit background history of who you are, and then tell them why you're running, and then we'll beat you up with the questions later.
Okay, all right. Well, again, thanks for calling me and inviting me on. So the reason why I'm running, well, a little bit about me. Again, my name is Alcairo Deacon. My heritage is Jamaican. I was the first one born in this district, born in Milwaukee. I have 10 brothers and sisters here. A lot of them went to Marquette and have graduated, and they're contributing to Milwaukee. In my professional career, I've worked as a fatherhood advocate. I've also worked as a workforce specialist. I've worked as a reentry coordinator, where I had the opportunity to spearhead one of the first American job centers in the jail setting in the nation. And now I currently work as a program and policy analyst at Vance for the state of Wisconsin, where I get to do contract administration for nonprofits that do reentry work as well. So I've been heavy in reentry for the last years in different capacities. I've decided to run because I've noticed throughout my career certain gaps that just haven't been addressed. And so I figured I would take a shot at it and try to address those gaps to push the district forward.
All right, let me jump in right here on you, because you're running in the district and you're running against two people. You're the one that has the two, right? Because one is a write-in.
Yes, the write-in, she had lost, in the primary, and then she decided to go back in as a write-in. So yes, it's me, and then the write-in, and my opponent, Latanya, the incumbent, Latanya Johnson.
All right, now tell me, and Orlando have shared with us about what he sees about his district. Tell us, what do you see as running for Senate for the 6th district, and what would you bring to the table if you are elected in the 6th district?
So what I see in the 6th district, based off of my experience of, being able to be in the community and seeing people that I've been around with in the community end up in jail and serving them in jail, and seeing that they have good hearts, but it's just little things that can get in the way, that can block them from moving forward. I see there's a lack of just basic knowledge. That's why I want to bring a family and consumer sciences initiative to Milwaukee Public Schools. When I say basic knowledge, I'm talking about knowledge for life. So things like financial literacy, credit, difference between owning and renting a home, how to start a business, how to do your taxes. You know, they're going to school and they're learning Shakespeare, but they're not learning basic life skills. It always saddens me when I would work in the jail and then there would be a gentleman with gray hair, 60 years old, doesn't know how to get a job. It would sadden me when I would look at people's education in the jails, and a lot of them didn't really finish school. You know, so a lot of it has to do with if we could get some things tweaked in the schooling system, and so that's what I want to try to take care of uh, as a state senator. So that's one of the primary issues. It's the economy. I believe we can get the economy going. That will solve a lot of problems. So I've been doing that for a while throughout my career, and I want to try to bring some of those skills to the table. And as I'm sure you already know, Orlando is highly skilled at that as well. I've had the pleasure of assisting his program that he runs. So very skilled at that.
All right. Now, I'm going to ask you guys a question that I asked Mr. Cobbs and Mr. Walton when I had them on the show. So I want to ask you guys the same question, and y'all can take your time to answer it. One of the biggest problems in our community is family. We know that. And right now there's a law right now that hinders parents from being parents. And that's the child abuse law. And the child abuse law is not defining the difference between discipline and abuse. Would you guys sponsor a bill or come up with a bill that would define abuse versus discipline?
Yes.
That will allow families, and Orlando jumped on that right away, to allow families to take control and be parents again, you know, because that's something that's hindering our community. Go ahead, Orlando. You already jumped on it, so go ahead.
I mean, we know that there's clearly a difference between abuse and corporal punishment. I think there are things that we should always have control of our families. But I do understand that, you know, the cycle of violence. So I get it. You know, you know it when you see it. But I think part of having corporal punishment, especially at younger ages, but I think there's a deeper issue there. And the deeper issue is that there's a lot of unaddressed mental health issues, spiritual issues that we have not addressed. And I think that's where the court system, you know, the court system is not always, you know, the place to do it or try to correct it. But I can tell you that I think there's a lot of good from corporal punishment. I could also understand when it goes to pro. But I think there's some underlying, more seated issues. When you have a community that leads the nation in, you know, incarceration, have a community that does not have jobs and opportunities. These things play a role when you have racism that always, you know, inhibits you from advancing in life. When you have also just unhealthy ideas of what is a healthy man-woman relationship. And let's just be clear about it. Self-esteem is a huge thing. And when you don't have a prosperous, mobile life moving upward, that plays a role in the psyche of self-esteem, which leads to maybe even alcoholism or drug abuse. Because anytime you're impaired, you should never put your hands on anyone. So I think I would definitely support legislation to try to decipher between what is abuse and what is, you know, discipline. But I think also, like I said earlier, a few seconds ago, there are deeper issues as well there too.
Okay, Mr. D.
Yes, I do think it's important that we're able to decipher the difference between abuse and discipline. I think a lot of people in the community, they're getting caught up because of that. They're not aware of what the laws are, and next thing you know, they're incarcerated. I do think it's a problem that parents' hands are tied when it comes to disciplining children, and you see that police, you know, it's part of their job, but police are able to shoot children, you know, in the community, but a parent can't discipline them in the way that they find appropriate. I think there's something a little wrong with that. Again, I agree with what Orlando's saying when it comes to mental health issues. I used to work and help parents that were in the process of losing their children. I used to work with the child welfare to bridge the gap to help them get back with their children. And there were some stories where some people did need to have a timeout from their children and they needed to get some help. But there were also some stories where I just couldn't understand how they ended up losing their children. One person I know, their child had hit her, had punched her, and she said, "Oh, you like to hit girls? So we're gonna go outside. I'm gonna teach you a lesson." And it was mostly theater. She was trying to get them kind of, worked up and scared to say, "Hey, you don't put your hands on a lady." And she put him in she punched him in the arm and she put him in a headlock. But when she had him in a headlock, she went and she knocked on the garage to kind of simulate like she was hitting them and beating them up and stuff. I don't know. I'm not gonna say if I agree or not, but the thing is, she lost her kids over that for years. And so it's very important that the community knows the difference and that we have legislation that deciphers the difference, that there's clarity, and parents can parent the way that they see fit.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll just add this, that I think, let's just be clear, we don't have more Black and brown people who are in these positions, from judges, from administrators of the program itself. And we clearly understand there's a difference in how our cultures, how we do things. And I think when you have people who are not of the culture, making those type of judgment calls, culture and upbringing is different. And I think we amongst ourselves know when we see what we see. But once again, we're in a predominantly white country, that racism is real, but also abuse is real. So I think there's a fine line, but calmer heads. I think there's clearly a difference. We can decipher, and we should be able to do that. I think sometimes we lean so much on the system to do these things, but honestly, I think there's deeper issues in that, because we know abuse when we see it, and we got to really talk about like domestic abuse. And I had a friend of mine. She says quite often, hurting people hurt people, or hurt people hurt people. When you don't deal with those things as a juvenile or as a young adult, and you have children, those things are still unaddressed. Mental health, health esteem issues. And they spill over to how you bring your kid. We've seen, let's just be clear, when a man or a woman, in particular a woman, who could emasculate a male in public.
Yes.
And what do you think the end result is going to be for that young man growing up? He's going to hate women, or he's going to be a mama's boy. In either situation, these are not good positions to be in as a male.
Yeah. And and you're absolutely right. And one of the things is, and like you said, there's not enough color in those positions, because majority of us, we're loud, and we're not even arguing. We just loud. We come from that kind of background where you're loud, and everybody be like, "Why are you screaming?" You be like, "I'm not screaming," because we so used to being loud, But if somebody that have not been in that background hear you talking, all of a sudden they think you're loud and you're screaming and you're abusive. So we do need people in there. Now, let me ask this, because we're still talking about families. There should be a bill that will attach to family court to have some kind of classes on co-parenting, so that the kids are not the victim of the battle that goes on, and that kid becomes the pawn, or that kid becomes the one that is getting pulled all this ill information, whether it's on his father or whether it's on the mother. So I think if child support going to have a person pay child support and things like that, I think there should be some kind of program in there that will allow them to go through a co-parenting class, so they will understand how it affects the child. Because that's who hurts when parents and stuff Amen. Oh, okay. I'm reading. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm reading. So, what do y'all think about a program that will teach co-parenting?
So it's interesting you bring this up, because when I was first trying to develop my platform, and after working in fatherhood, and learning, just about how many issues stem from the lack of fatherhood involvement and the lack of co-parenting, I initially thought to try to come up with something that would bring the information about co-parenting at the bedside. After the child is born, that the hospital may give them information about it, and maybe play a video as an introduction to show the importance of it, and that they could go to uh, have a list of resources of the classes that they can go to co-parenting. I'm a little hesitant to go right to the point of making a bill, but I think maybe I would definitely want to explore like an initiative first, to try to have a collaboration of maybe hospitals that are willing to give that information to mothers and fathers after they have the baby, and see how that works first. But I do think it's a issue. Co-parenting is a big issue that we need to make sure that parents are co-parenting and raising them together, because it took two to make it. It's going to take two to raise the child.
Well, let me back on you on that one. Hold on one second, Mr. Owens. You said that you work with the Fatherhood Initiative, right?
My Father's House Incorporated.
Okay. Well, if you understand what fathers go to, and I'm not saying all fathers, you got some deadbeat, but then you got fathers out there that love their kids, that's trying to do, can't do, fighting with the courts just to get custody or visitation, and the child suffers. So in order for it to happen, I really believe, and then Orlando, when I stop, please jump in right then and there. I really believe that it has to be something on the books so that they will cooperate with co-parenting so the children don't suffer. That's why we get all these, you got kids out here mad because they saying that the other one don't want them. They're being told by the other parent that the father don't want you or the mother don't want you. So we need to be able to co-parent, right? I mean, the kids has already got challenges. They got the lead in the water. They got aluminum in the vaccinations. They got a lot that they're dealing with already. To hear one parent tell you that the other parent don't love you or don't want to be around you, and the real issue is they don't want each other. I think that there has to be something. If you get a divorce, you have to go through a class. If you got kids, you have to go through a class in order to get that divorce. So if you have a problem with visitation, I think you should go to a class to understand co-parenting and the danger that it affects the children. Go ahead, Mr. Owens.
Well, I think we're kind of touching on it, and it goes back to, like mental health covers a myriad of things. And when we don't have healthy idea of self, we can't provide for ourselves. There's a lot of things that are affected, and that also plays a role in relationships. To your point, David, divorce is a real thing. I've been through it myself, and it's a situation in which it affects not only just the two people, the children are involved too.
Yes.
I think that a class is one of those things in which, classes around the issue of mental health is still a very, very, very big stigma in Black and brown communities. No one wants to talk to anyone because we turn so often to our elders. But part of that problem also is that our elders are not as elderly or wisdom as much as before, because we're having kids so close to each other. There's no gap there's no growth of wisdom that you can turn to big mama or granddaddy. And also given health concerns, that the circle of life is coming a lot quicker due to health issues.
Right.
So right. I'm always concerned about any mandate. But I definitely support the idea. We definitely need to have supportive services around those families. I think one of the things we need to do first is to admit and understand that these are a lot of economic issues going on in our community that lead to a lot of other poor behaviors. I think also upon divorce, whatever the case. You don't always have to get the courts involved. If the courts are involved, we should work from a premise that both parents have joint custody and joint placement.
Yes.
You should not have to ask for placement or custody. So often, young men, I've been through the system myself and didn't understand the difference between joint custody and joint placement. We always talk about custody. But placement, which means you get the child 50% of the time, the other person gets the child 50% of the time. And so I think, once again, our lack of understanding of those terms. But I also understand this, like I said, to that point, we should operate from the very beginning that both parents have joint custody and joint placement. And then from there, work from that premise and say, if one decides they don't want to be involved that way. But you shouldn't have to ask or to fight for placement and custody.
Amen. So let's talk about economics for a minute. And I'll start with you, candidate for senator. How do you see a change, or what's your plan for a change of the economics in the 6th district?
So my plan for a change in economics for this district, I want to activate those that aren't really working or that have spotty employment. And what I found with working with them is a lot of them, a lot of the younger ones, at least, that were when a lot of them I worked with were incarcerated, they want those microwave blessings, and you can try to give them training. We've had tons of trainings, and you can try to set them up for trainings. They don't want to do it because they're not used to it. They don't know about delayed gratification. They also have to start paying child support. They have a lot of different responsibilities. So I'm the kind of guy, I try to meet people where they are and try to make everybody happy. So I think there are solutions for those kind of people. And that's why I came up with a program I'd like to try to push, is a disadvantaged worker tax credit and subsidy program. So how that would work is you give gentlemen training, job training. You can tailor the training based on if there's different levels. You can have training that meets criminogenic needs. So if someone is incarcerated and they keep being incarcerated over and over again, there are curriculums that can address that, because it's going to show up on the job if it's not addressed. So they wouldn't have to be assessed, and then we'd have to find out just how much of job readiness they would need to make sure that they're fit and ready for employment. Once they go through that training, then they are aligned with some employers that agree to work with the program. And I believe if we give both the worker and the employer a subsidy, for instance, let's say the job is just $13 an hour, but that's all we can find is a job that pays $13 an hour. Then we give a $3 subsidy to the participant, so that they're making 16. Because again, I found that if they get a job that's like 10, they're not mature enough, they're going to move around. So my thought process is we get them employed so that they can hang around for, a year or so. And by the time they have that year of employment or job experience, they have enough to be able to take that experience and go to another job. And now they're taxpayers. I also think that, let's say, if we have an employer that we recruited and they pay $20 an hour, then we say, all right, well, we'll give the employer $4 to subsidize. So it goes both ways, but the goal would be to get the participant $16 an hour, and also have it be a job that's in Milwaukee. So second year, if they continue to work for the employer, then I think it would be good to give the employer a tax credit, again, for taking a risk on a lot, because there's a lot of people in our population that are a risk. Not all are, but I've seen, you can go all out to try to get somebody to get a job, and they go on the job and they don't treat the job as though they need it. So I try to have a program that will help both the employer and the job seeker. And I think that's a structure that would really help to push the community forward and take those that aren't really working and put them to work.
Okay, I got a question that came in through YouTube, and it's to you, Mr. Deacon.
Mm.
It says, would there be continued support after employment for the year?
Continued support after. My stance is I wouldn't want to see a subsidy for longer than like a year. You know, that's even pushing to have it for a year. Now, when you say continued support, I believe the programs that I ran and been involved with, it's always you always help them even if they graduate the program. You know, with resume assistance or job search and things of that nature, because now they're equipped. You know, now they have the training. Hopefully they stay on with that job, but if not, now they're equipped to be able to go out and participate in the economy. And I believe the program should assist them with getting other jobs, because that's really the goal, is to make people self-sufficient.
Well, when it comes to jobs, Mr. Owen and myself, we are masters at that. We know what people come in and the condition they in, and how even with companies. So I'm gonna ask you one more question, and then we're gonna turn it over to Mr. Owens. Now, you said you want companies in the city of Milwaukee. So how are you going to be able to make Milwaukee attractive to companies to want to come inside of Milwaukee? How would you work with the mayor and the common council? Because they the gatekeepers. They the ones that will allow or not allow companies in. So what would you do to try to work with them? Because if Milwaukee is steady controlled by Democrats, do you see that program taking off, or is that going to be your biggest challenge?
You know, well, there's a lot of I'll put it this way. I've seen, from my understanding, the mayor and Alderman Rainey, they actually tried to get some jobs going when they tried to get Strauss here. But then a group called No Slaughter came out, and they spreaded some misconception about the whole deal or whatnot. And then it was false information, and then the deal fell apart. So and then it looks like they're open. They may be open to it because they built the Century City, and so I think it would just take a fresh approach, because I don't see, from my understanding, they're not taking this kind of approach. And I think, you know, after having conversations, we can get some things going. I mean, who doesn't want jobs here? You know, who wouldn't want the economy to be pumping? So I would find it odd for people to argue against bringing jobs, because then they'd have to answer to their constituents. So I think this is something that can get up and running. There's actually something similar. It's the program. What's it called? Through Northcott. My gosh. There's a program that's similar, but it pays far less, and there's not as much training. But so these things happen. Compete Milwaukee. Yeah, Compete Milwaukee, but it pays less, and there's less training, and the participants are on for a smaller amount of time. So I think there's room for this to happen in Milwaukee, and I think we can get people that are located outside of Milwaukee to open up shop here as well.
Mr. Owens?
Well, the 11th Assembly District is a great district to be in. You know, we have a lot of great companies in our area. We have workforce. It just needs somebody to stir the pot. It's already a great gumbo. We have Hellman Titan. We have Brady Corporation. We have Johnson Controls. We have Stratec. We have a booming Havenwood Economic Development Corporation right in our district. So we have hiring signs all in our district. And so we also have a great workforce that is just raring to go and make the connection. So the ingredients are already there. The train is on the track. Just need a good director. And I hope I can be that director of trying to connect the pieces. It's not hard. I think it's just really have to have the right cheerleaders and also the great people who can come together and make things make business sense, but also make sense to our overall community and the health of our state and our county and our city. And so we have great opportunity. We have land. We're right by the freeway. So we're a great place to want to locate, live, and work. We have collaborations already with housing for people who live in the area, who can work in the area, for housing voucher, for housing discounts, leading to home ownership. So we have a great mix of services already. Once again, just need someone who's able to connect all the dots together and make a great picture.
Okay. Let's talk about, I don't know if you guys looked at it yet or talked about it, but there's a bill in Washington right now called the Equality Act. Have y'all heard about the Equality Act?
Briefly,
Maybe.
yeah.
Okay. If they get passed in Washington, each state can either adopt it or not adopt it. The Equality Act is very dangerous to the body of Christ. Since I'm talking to two men of God, it is very dangerous to the body of Christ. If you, I don't know if this is a fair time to ask that question, because if you really haven't looked into it all the way, then I don't want. Have you read it? Have you read about it?
You can give me a brief overview.
Okay. The Equality Act is a amendment to the Civil Rights Act for sexual identification and sexual identity, and it's where
No, boys shouldn't be able to compete against girls. No, that shouldn't happen.
so what is really about is that it will shut the church mouth on counseling a young boy who is confused, or a young girl who is confused about their sexuality, to the fact where that if you had a business, Mr. Owens, and the person will walk in and you hired that person, and then the next day after you hired them, you say, "Good morning, Mr. Deacon. How you doing today?" And he said, "No, it's Miss Deacon." And if you don't call him Miss Deacon, that's discrimination, and they can sue your company.
Well, I'm not a big fan of lawsuits unnecessarily. I believe in your right to do a lot of things, but also I also believe in my right as well too. So I think for me, I'm always I try to be always very open and very transparent as possible. It's a tough subject matters. We're living in definitely a different time of the expression of sexuality, gender roles, or just changing genders, and there are things that I clearly think we shouldn't do. The whole idea of biological males competing against women, that should never happen, in sports at all. But in this case, I think that we have to get to the point of, I have no problem respecting any and everybody.
Okay.
And if my role is for you, I hired you for a job. So I would have to look more into detail, because I wouldn't want to be sued because you prefer to be called a Mr. or a Miss. And visibly you may look to one gender or the other. I think there's so many ways that we can mitigate those type of concerns. If it doesn't bother me, if you want me to call you Miss Johnson, I might have to just say call you Johnson. I may have to call you by your first name. But if it feels, I have to call you what's on your application. But if it becomes an issue, because I always want to seek peace, but also keep my standards as well too as a believer, because I'm not trying to, if it's unnecessary necessarily conflict. Some things I can say, you know what, man, hey, it's my place of business. If I am a Christian business, I think there's some things that up front that we want to talk about. If I'm not a Christian business, but I am a Christian operating in that business, then there's a different thing. I think how you set up your organization. If you are truly a religious-based organization that has a business, that should be made up front to people, so people know upon taking this job, this is what we're going to do. Now, if you're not set up that way, then I think there's some give and take there. Christian organization, but you are a Christian and you're a believer. At the same time, as a believer, man, I'm not. Hey, you want me to call you Mr. Thomas? I'm just gonna have to call you Thomas. I don't know.
Yeah, and that is when you really look at it, and you need the reason I brought it up is because even when Common Core came out, some states took it, some states didn't take it. So so the thing about it is, if it does become in the law, some stuff we can adapt to and some stuff we can't. For example, California with the SB 145, the state Senate Bill 145, where a person that is 10 years, if you're 19 and you molested a 9-year-old and he consent to it, you will not be charged and will not have to register as a sex offender.
Okay.
So how do how do we
elections are important. Elections are also very important.
Yes.
When you look at legislation and like that, to your earlier question, I'm not trying to see people sue or companies to leave. I'm trying to get companies to come and to hire people. Right. So I have to put some things in priority as well too. But yeah, I think legislators and government and election plays a big role, and that's what's on the ballot. So there's going to be things that I probably wouldn't support. There's other things, quite honestly, is things that I'd say, you know what, man, we're going to have to figure this thing out a little bit more. Brother Deacon, I didn't mean to take all the time.
Oh, no, that's all right. It's interesting because what I heard was it sounded like an attack on free speech.
It's an attack on free speech, but it's also it's a slap in the face to Black people because of the fact that you want to set an amendment on the civil rights, and to say, and bring, I don't care who you sleep with, you ain't got to make it a law. You ain't got to, you can do that, whatever you do in your house, but you ain't got to make a law to make everybody accept the way you want to do things. Right now they're already debating and they're arguing and fighting for pedophiles, that the pedophiles should have their rights to love whoever they want to love. Because when you open that door for immorality, everything comes out now. And they are literally debating. That's why California did what they did. And now California is trying to legalize prostitution so that way they can be able to legalize child prostitution. So you got to look at when the doors open, it's going to open. Being men of God, I just want the people to hear you guys will protect us from that mess like that.
Wow. So, it's interesting how we can link and see how the chain reaction, those kinds of things. Certainly, I would not be for any of that. Certainly. But, when when bringing up the Equality Act, and from what I heard, what was said, and I have to dive deeper into it. What I heard was like a attack on free speech, to whereas if someone is not addressing someone the way that they would like to be addressed, instead of looking at it as a disagreement, they look at it as discrimination and a lawsuit and all those kinds of things. I don't know. To me, that sounds like it's a little much. That's a pretty big response to a disagreement and how to say something. Because people don't sometimes call me what I want to be called a certain way or whatnot. Football team called me out.
I don't think it has to be litigated.
I'm sorry?
You don't, everything had to go to the courts.
Yes.
I think great companies, great HR, great standards, great practices, everything don't have to be a lawsuit. It just don't.
No.
Small government.
And it's not, it's not more of the lawsuit, it's what they're trying to set up for and what they're trying to push. You got to understand, they're already pushing transgender. They're pushing transgender where you won't be able to talk to your kid. They in the city of Milwaukee, if there's a child, a young man who thinks he's supposed to be a girl, the parent is not allowed to give him counseling in the city of Milwaukee. They have to take him outside of Milwaukee to get him some counsel, So they already setting up to the fact where the church ain't gonna be able to say nothing about it in a minute. So we have
I think we need to look at laws. We need to also always make provisions.
Yes.
I think what you're alluding to, David, that is called the. We had one here in the city. We had a city ordinance that got passed. Conversion therapy, and they pin this back to some isolated situations in which religious institutions went too far. And I think we have to look at, always understanding that there's always could be a level of too far. I don't necessarily believe, I believe conversion therapy, we call it just preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. That can be construed as conversion therapy. We just call it a sermon. I mean, it's just a prayer. So once again, you have people who are maybe not spiritual people and who are trying to say, who believes more in nature and science than they do in the spiritual realm. And I think that's someone we must be able as believers to be able to navigate in this world of man laws. And so I did not support conversion therapy. And I remember very vividly the fiasco that the Common Council allowed to happen, and the clergy, which I don't understand how we went ahead and voted these people back in, asked for a simple provision to allow churches to still do what they need to do. If you want to, take it out, but leave the churches alone.
And that's so true. So this is to you, Orlando. Now, I watched Jason Fields when he was in that seat, and all the bills that he got passed through, actually all three governors that he was working with, and he was able to, even as a Democrat, to get bills passed through Walker, a bill signed through Walker and through Evers, and so my thing is, being a people person that you are, do you feel that you'll be able to get bills passed through Tony Evers?
I don't have a problem, working with Republicans or Democrats. I want to work with things that make sense to the 11th Assembly District and to the state. So the things that I would support, I would hope there would be common sense pieces of legislation that takes just people sitting down and kind of having a real discussion. So I think a lot of things I'm pushing for already off top, I don't think it would be a problem that Governor Evers will support it or sign it. Sometimes I'm more concerned with getting some of my Republican friends on board with some issues that I think we need to be more flexible on. So now I'm not bothered by that. I think Tony Evers, like anybody else, you got to be able to persuade them. If you can't, then we understand that it won't pass. But yeah, I'm confident we can get stuff done.
Okay, what about you, Mr. Deacon?
Yeah, I'm confident that things could get done. I think things are just like really politicized right now, and I think after the election, I think things may be able to get up a little bit back to normal, and it might be like I want to do something, and someone from the opposite party may say, well, we could do it, but maybe we do it this way, and I don't see anything wrong with that, because two parties, two different schools of thought, it's just as long as it gets done. So I do think we'll be able to get things done. It might not be exactly how I may envision it, but as long as it gets done, that's cool with me. So I think things could get done. Not sure if it'll be exactly how I would envision it, but we still be able to get things done. So that's my stance there.
There's a saying: don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Right.
Okay. Now, with all of this stuff that's going on right now, and we're finding out, I mean, we have the injustice. We know it. It's in our face. We know we have police brutality. It's in our face. We already know that those kind of things. But then at the same time, we have individuals. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see. I guess this one is to you, Mr. Owens, because we got people asking questions. Let me see if I can put it on the screen. Can you see that, Mr. Owens?
I can.
Okay. You want to address that?
We need to change the conversion law of conversion therapy, and amend allow parents to spearhead their child's therapy. When we need to change the conversion, I don't know if it's law. I think what we have right now is only city ordinances. We don't have a state law against conversion therapy. That's why you can go to David's point. You can go to Brookfield and get conversion therapy. So it's not state law. It's a city ordinance or county ordinance right now. Naturally, a lot of times the cities and the counties and the states are the experiment pieces. A lot of pieces of legislation pushed by ALEC or either the liberal think tanks and Republican think tanks, they start off small and they spread out. But right now, and this is how things happen, and I get what the person is trying to go through. I think it's only in the city and not a county. When Milwaukee County, it spreads to the next county, and then the next county. So now you have a overwhelming, support for something. But so currently, it's not law. It's a city ordinance, and so I would be against the city ordinance. I would bring it back to the alderman, but since I'm running for state representative, I would definitely be fighting on the state level. Say, no, we can't pass it as a state law. No.
Okay. So in other words, we need to remove those people out of office in Milwaukee, in the city of Milwaukee Common Council, and then get rid of that ordinance.
I didn't hear that part, David. I'm sorry.
I said, so what we probably would have to do is to re-elect new aldermen and then ask them to get rid of the ordinance.
Yeah, I think so. Or it may be when it was to be litigated, but yeah, I think that's we do. We do.
So back to my thing. This election, and I'm talking locally now, state. A lot of people really don't know what's at stake here for our state representatives and state senator races, because a lot of people have been tricked to just focus on the presidential race, and a lot of people don't know they can pick and choose whoever they want to pick and choose, and they don't have to hit straight party. So what is your strategy on getting that knowledge out that they don't have to hit straight party? What are you doing to educate your district so they'll know? Because a lot of people in districts that's of people of color think they got to vote straight party line. So what are your strategy to get them to say you don't have to go straight party?
Well, I know with me, with talking with people, they warm up to me, and they like the ideas, and when they learn, I'm Republican, it's like, oh, wow, okay, and so really that is the only thing that sometimes gets in the way of someone flat out just going and saying, oh, I'm voting for you. Because then it's like, wait, if I vote for you, Republican, then it means I'm going to have to vote for, somebody I might not want to have to vote for in the presidential election. And that's why I usually let them know, like, hey, it's not, it's you can vote for the person. You don't have to vote for the party. And I think that's how it should always be. So again, when I share my story and I talk about my platform, I haven't really met anyone that's in disagreement with it. They feel it and they want to vote. And people are really thinking that people are that the whole district is just gung ho Democrat. But when I'm talking with people are just gung ho about getting stuff done. People want stuff done. You know, they want jobs. They want their family together. And I'm surprised to find that, you know, a lot of people that I talk with, they're really not big on the Democrat Republican thing, which is refreshing. The news and the national narrative will try to push it down like, hey, Democrat, Republican. And that seems to be a strategy of Democrats as well, to try to really push it strong, like, hey, it's all about, you know, party and those kinds of things. But as Brother Orlando would always say, you know, when I first got into it, you know, it's people, you know, over party. And I've adopted that as well into my campaign.
Okay. Now let me say this. I got put in Facebook jail because I made a comment. I did a Think About It Tuesday this morning. And I got placed in Facebook jail, and I won't get out of jail until December 19th. The election will be way over when I'm out of jail.
Get back in for Christmas, huh?
So, and I asked a question on that live, and I'm gonna ask you guys the same.
You trying to get us in jail?
No, you're not in jail right now because you're not on Facebook. But I gotta ask you, we're not under your Facebook name, so you're not gonna go to jail. But I have to ask y'all this question: being man of God with a conservative mindset, and I'm not talking party now. I'm talking about your values. And I've been knowing Orlando for a long time, and Orlando used to get on the radio and fight his values. What was that nickname they gave you on the radio? When you would call, or you call?
I've been called some everything.
Okay, so here's the question: who is the most dangerous to our community? A white liberal or a black liberal? Who's the most dangerous and why?
I don't know, David. I mean, honestly, I'll just be very, very transparent. I don't get into a lot of the titles of liberal versus conservative versus progressive because I think too often we have allowed the white intellect and dialect to infiltrate our thinking and processing. We don't fit squarely in these ideologies like this, on the surface level of what is progressive, what is conservative. I think there's some things that my grandma taught me about the old church that I still hold value to. I think there's some things that my 27-year-old son can teach me about TikTok that I have no clue what that is. And so I think sometimes we're so overly classified with these categories. I'm a common sense thinking young man. I don't care if it's a conservative idea, progressive. I'll let y'all debate over these titles because these titles don't mean nothing at all. Does it make good horse sense, as the old folks used to say? What's dangerous? Anything that is counterproductive to the unification of my people and the upper mobility of my people. So I don't care if that is a white liberal or a white conservative. That's too far. Too far on either way means it's not good for me in the middle, which is my folk. So extremes are always bad. And so I just think, a white conservative or a black conservative who's over the top is also dangerous, just like the other one on the other side.
Yeah, for me, I think the biggest danger.
Hold on, Deacon. Orlando Orange, you was a great dodgeball champion, wouldn't you?
I would say that. I'm good at. I'm as good at it, man. I do what I do, and I understand the questions, and it's just I try not to get caught up in too many this or that. Having a binary decision, you have to be all this or all that. I like somewhere in the middle.
Okay, go ahead, Brother Deacon.
Yeah, I think for me, I think the biggest danger, really, if you say between black liberal, white liberal, really, I just think it's really ourselves, us not taking the time to educate ourselves, and to be able to see, things for what it is. No one's taking the time to do that, and you know, everyone, the community is so loving. The news will try to paint it like the community, we all hate one another, but really, as a people, we're very loving people. And how we operate a lot of times is we catch a vibe and we figure, wow, this person is really cool. If he's really cool with me, he must be cool with policy as well. So I'm gonna just go with him. This person, he comes out and we always see him in the community, so he must mean well. But really, we never really took the time. The community never really takes the time to dive in. Milwaukee, I don't know if it's like this in other places, but in Milwaukee, people just vote for a name. Oftentimes, they see the name and they say, oh, okay, I've seen that name before, let me vote for it. So for me,
no, go ahead.
Yeah, for me, I don't really see it as, the black liberal or the white liberal is really a danger. I think the danger is the community not taking the time to really educate ourselves on what's going on, and voting with logic instead of just emotion.
All right. Well, since y'all ain't gonna answer it, I'll answer it for y'all. Then, I can't get in more trouble than I'm in already anyway. The most dangerous to me is a black liberal, and I'll tell you why. It takes us to get us, and we just got to be honest with that. It takes us to get us, and what I mean, in order for them to get us from Africa, they needed some of us to help them get us. And to keep us down, liberals have to have some of us to get us. And right now, we're sitting around, and if we be honest with what's the condition of our state. I'm talking about our state now and our city, the city of Milwaukee. Orlando is in a very good area as far as the 11th district. But then when you look at other districts, and how they're hurting and how they're suffering and how they're being portrayed, okay? You're looking at a community that has put their trust in us, but us took over and pushed the liberal agenda. That's why we high incarceration. The same problem you talked about with unemployment. That's why we're high in black unemployment. That's why we high in poverty. That's why we have the worst city for African American to raise his family. And we have all of this. Why? Simply because of the fact that we allow people to come in, okay? They come in and they tell us to vote for them because why? Because they know if a white person came in the black inner city and knocked on your door, hi, Mr. Deacon, my name is Tommy, and I'm running for office, and I want you to support me, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure your kids' education is the worst education there is. I'm going to make sure that black unemployment is the worst that it is. I'm going to make sure that black incarceration is the highest that it is. I'm going to make sure that blacks are going to have nothing. It's going to be the worst place for a black person to live. So I want you to vote for me. Would you vote for me? No. But if I send a black person in there and says, hey, man, I need you to vote for me, I got you. And we vote.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Why? And they got the same agenda. Mm-hmm. Because you can see the fruit of that agenda right now.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you got to be able to be, this is what people are looking for. People are looking for people that is bold enough to tell the truth, no matter what the outcome is. Bold enough to say, this is what I stand for. This is what I believe. This is where I'm at. Then they can say, we can get around you and push you through the finish line because why? You're speaking what you stand for right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're tired. The community is tired of waiting on a person to say, well, when I get in office, this is what no. We want to know now. We want to know your agenda now. You see what I'm saying? You got two people are running against you. All right. One is running against you, but she's not really running against you. She's running against your opponent because she don't like her. So she lost the primary. So she decided to get right back in as a write-in candidate, not because she's trying to help you win, because of the fact that she's after her opponent, and they're both Democrats. So this is this is the prime time for you, Mr. Deacon, to let the people know this is why you should have me. This is why I need to be leading this district. This is why I'm going to go to Madison and fight for you. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is what people are looking for right now. They're tired of the lies. They tired of you telling us what you're going to do. And here's the thing about it. Can you name 3 things that your opponent done that benefited the 11th district?
Well, it doesn't, when I look it up, I don't see much that was passed. She'll try to get things going, but you said 11. If I'm in the 6th district.
Well, I'm sorry, the 6th there. Oh, Orlando left. Okay. He did good on playing dodgeball. He left. But my thing is, maybe he got cut off. He'll come back. I don't know. Yeah. But my thing to you is, if I'm in the 11th district, 6th district. If I'm in the 6th district and you're coming to my door, one of the things you should ask me is, name me 3 things she's done for you. And if they can't, that's a good argument why they should support you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my campaign is it wasn't birthed out of it could have been birthed out of what my opponent, has not been doing or didn't do. My campaign was birthed off of, for me, my experience and not seeing the things that I'm experiencing addressed. And I felt like through the peculiar experiences I've had career-wise and just personally, living in this district, I feel like I'm equipped to really move the district forward. And I think that overshadows whatever my opponent has done or hasn't done. And that's just my whole approach to it. I don't really see it as how could I put it? I'll leave it at that. That's my approach. It's what I can do, and I think what I can do is going to overshadow what my opponent has done or tried to done or has not done.
Yeah, and you made a statement earlier that the community are ignorant and to a lot of things because we don't research it, we don't study. So as a
and I was part of that as well. Man. I'm speaking from experience.
Right.
Working 4 jobs and taking literally 4 jobs. There's a stereotype that, it says, Jamaican, you got 3-4 jobs. And I guess for me, it was true. I had a coworker that said, you only got 3 jobs, you lazy bum. So when you're doing that and you barely got time you're doing church, you know what I mean? And you're trying to be a husband, you're trying to be a father, and I'm not the only one. There's people in the community that's going through worse than that. It's not that people don't care. It's kind of like, well, people are tied up in they stuff. But now people are starting to see, I better really start paying attention because this what's going on is going to affect my life. And because people have been so busy, they just they go off of a vibe, and they go off of just a D, because Democrats have always been around. They've just been around, but this is the time now where we have to start educating ourselves. We have to take the time and educate ourselves to see what everyone's about. So I encourage everybody, check out my website, deaconforsenate.com. Don't just vote for me because, I'm a black man. That's you should never vote for someone because of their skin color. Look at what they about. Look at what they trying to do. Look at what they've accomplished. So on my website, deaconforsenate.com, you can see a lot of that. And that should be the determining factor of the vote for every vote. You know, because now everyone's in their emotions. Everyone's in their emotions, and people know that. A lot of politicians know that, and they just try to ride people's emotions.
Well, you know, and the thing about it is, I think he's coming back. Here he comes.
Mm.
You know, I think that's something that we got to look at, because most people are voting their emotions. Welcome back, sir. I thought you kicked me to the curb.
Uh-oh.
Okay, Orlando?
Looks like it's chipping in and out there.
Yeah, it does.
Mm.
Okay, here, try again. Let me try him again.
Mm.
Let's see if he pop in. So tell the audience. Let's see. Tell the audience for me 3 points about U.S. senator that you want to look to accomplish as the next senator of the 6th district.
So as next senator of the 6th district, I'm looking to really fix things at the root. I'm really trying to cut away some things at the root based off of, again, my experience and what I've seen going on in the community. So if we could get a family and consumer sciences initiative into schools, I think that will help to fix a lot of things, because that will cover job readiness. That'll teach job readiness. So people that, you know, the economy, there's been jobs out there. You know, when I was working with, you know, with bridging the divide in the economy with the supply and demand side, and I was working with employers would say, hey, we got positions, but where are the workers? And then the community would say, well, man, I want a job, but ain't no jobs. So it's been a disconnect. And I think if we make sure that while people are in school, that they know about job readiness, so that they come out and they're ready to be able to apply for jobs, I think that would really help our situation here. But again, the Family and Consumer Sciences Initiative wouldn't just deal with job readiness. I'm looking for it to deal with credit. I'm looking for it to deal with financial literacy. I'm looking for it to deal with emotional intelligence, so that we all know how to get along with one another instead of solving issues by shooting one another. You know, I think it was a given, you know, back in the day, people thought that, you know, these are things that you just learn in the household. You know, these are things that your father would teach you. But guess what? In this district, a lot of fathers have been incarcerated or are incarcerated. You know, so there are fatherless homes. So it would behoove us to really make sure that the community receives life skills training while in school. And I think that would solve a lot of the issues we have going on right now. And I don't even see that costing a lot of money to switch. So that's one thing. Another thing that people can look forward to, and my hope is that this will be figured out before I get in office. But again, my specialty over the years has been economics development, so I'd rather focus on that. But we need to do some things around the lines of police reform. We have to do something about what's going on there. We need police. Police have a very difficult job, though. You know, again, I always tell people how around my house, it's gunshots, people getting robbed up the block, and I'm seeing this on my Ring app. You know, people are reporting robbery. We need to have police, but at the same time, I believe we need to make sure that the police are properly equipped for the population. And so I believe we need to have some psychological assessments prior to being hired and periodically after. You know, we don't want anyone, because everyone's human, and we don't want, you know, an officer that comes in having a bad day and they're taking out their bad day on the community. That's a problem, because you have a gun. You can't have a bad day. It's almost like you have to be perfect on that job. So they have a really hard job. But it's little things like that, little tweaks like that I want to try to get with police reform to try to bridge the gap between the police and the community.
Okay. Welcome back, Mr. Owens.
Hey, I got a few more minutes. I was trying to say that our friend Paris called me, so you're gonna be coming to the show at 9:30. But I wanted to at least come back in and say goodbye officially. But you guys are on another hot topic: police reforms.
Well, I know you got to get on Paris' show and everything. So take the next few minutes before you leave us and just give us your vision for the 11th district. What do you see the district look like under your leadership?
Very hands-on. Everywhere in the district, you can find me. Very accessible, pushing the issue of employment, pushing opportunities for homeowners to grow into homeownership, making certain that we can attract more companies to our area once we feel the needs that we have currently with our existing companies, looking at police reforms, working very closely with our police departments in our district, our schools in our district, healthcare providers in our district, just the entire, even that entertainment aspect of our district. And that's understanding how this is a great place to be. If you're looking to relocate, if you're looking to bring your company, the 11th Assembly District is where you want to be.
All right, check it out. Well, I'm going to do this because he's a friend of mine, and I want to keep him as a friend of mine. So I'm about to kick you off of my show so you can get over there to Paris. You let Paris know that I love him a lot, and that's why I'm kicking you out of mine so you can get in here.
Okay.
All
Thank
right,
you, David. I'll come again anytime you have to ask me to.
All right, we'll get you back on before November 3rd.
Hopefully you come out to the press conference tomorrow. We have a press conference tomorrow at the Milwaukee North Branch office about the issue of the NAACP debate. So it's open to the press. So I'm quite certain online services like yours. I believe it's 10 o'clock. Am I right, Deacon?
Yes, 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock tomorrow.
10 o'clock in the morning?
Yep.
Oh, I'm going to try. I got some people coming to the office to take these jobs off my hand. But
no worries.
I try. But, man, I love you. And you get over there to Paris' show and tell Paris, he's the big brother of the show. So I'm going to let him have his way tonight. And we'll get you back.
Okay.
All right. God bless.
Thank you anytime.
Yeah. All right. So we done kicked him off, and then I'm going to kick you off so you can get back to driving, sir, in a minute. Let's just wrap this up with you real quick. We got 5 minutes left. What do you want to tell the people in the 6th district of the Senate?
6th district. This is the time to try something different. If we've been doing the same thing over and over and over again for years. For 172 years since Wisconsin's been a state, we've never tried Republican representation for the state Senate. We need to try something different. We need to have representation on both sides. If we keep doing the same thing, we're going to keep getting the same results. So I encourage you, don't just vote for a D. Don't just vote for an R. Don't vote for a nice smile. Do some research. Take the time, sit down, do the research. Go to my website, check out my opponent. You're going to see, what's been going on throughout the years.
Check out both of your opponents.
Yeah, well, you could, if you want to do that, you can do that too. But she had lost. The committee already spoke.
Right.
But she wants to come out and write, and that's her prerogative. She can do that. But
well, actually, really, it's a plus for you because if she takes some votes away from your real opponent, you win.
Yeah, I ain't mad at her. I'm not mad at it. It's a democracy. We it's opportunity out there. It's legal. Hey, I ain't mad at nobody. I don't hate at nobody. I believe what God has for me is for me, and that's how I look at it. And hopefully we could all shake and maybe sit down, talk, and exchange ideas even after this. You know what I mean? I look at elections as I look at just politics is just a different way of getting things done. Everybody has different schools of thought. We are trying to get to the same thing. Let's say we're trying to get to 5. One person might say, well, let's do 4 + 1. Another might say, well, let's do 2 + 3. As long as we get to 5, I'm cool with it. But it's just at this time, it looked like people trying to get to something that's not even part of America. But 6th District, check me out, deaconforsenate.com. I will be at a press conference tomorrow, so hopefully you check me out there as well. And I talk what I know. Everything you see on my website is stuff that I know. It's things from my experience, and that's what I plan on doing. I love to talk with you. Feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email at deaconforsenate@gmail.com. Phone number is 414-215-9733. And I would love to hear from you we can brainstorm together about how to troubleshoot concerns. But I'm ready for this, and I look forward to your support and your vote. And thank you for your time.
Amen. So let me close us out like this. We thank y'all for tuning in to Milwaukee, You Deserve Better. This is Apostle David King. I'm going to close it like this. Do not go to the polls in your emotions. Do your homework. Vote for the candidate that is best for you and your family. Also, if somebody asking you to vote for somebody, ask them one question. Why? Why should I vote for that person? Don't vote for a person because somebody said, well, I don't like the other one. Do your homework. Look at what's going on. And I said this, and this is probably another reason why I got kicked off of, I was placed in Facebook jail, is because we cannot let the Pied Pipers take us to the poll. We cannot let them beat the drums and play the music and go wishful thinking that we're going to get something from a person that's been in office for 47 years and you didn't get anything. And then they thinking you're going to get something because he become president. A leopard doesn't change its spots. It is what it is. If you believe in certain things, look which candidate believe in what you believe in. If you don't believe in abortion, then look for the candidate that don't believe in abortion. If you don't believe in same-sex and transgender, then look for a candidate that don't believe in same-sex transgender. If you're looking to open up a business and want to prosper in a business, then look for a candidate that's going to support businesses. You need education. If education is one of your issues, look at the candidate that's really going to support education. And I did a show last night called The Indoctrination of Our Children. Go back and look at it and then find out who is better to make decisions for my children's education. So you have to go in, look to see who support what I believe. That's the key. Don't go into your emotions. Look to see who support what you stand for and what you believe. Get out of your feelings. Don't listen to the lies. Don't listen to the media, because media lies. They do sound bites. They take from one and they add to the other one. I'm sick of commercials, but do your homework on every issue and then pick the person that supports what you support. This is David King from Milwaukee. You Deserve Better. And my guest, the Dr. Deacon, candidate for the 6th District Senate seat. Let's help him become the next senator. This is David King. Good night to you all.